The other thing, or the other aspect of AirPods, which very few people talk about, it's a little bit shocking why people don't really talk about this. AR, augmented reality. I think a lot of people, when they think of AR, spatial computing, they think visual. That's what comes to mind. What you see can be altered or changed. But I would make the case that AirPods, they're already playing in augmented reality. You talk about transparency mode. You talk about active noise cancellation, seamlessly shifting from one mode to the other, depending on your context, depending on your environment. Very powerful. Because what's happening? You're ultimately getting a different audio experience. And I do think I've said this years ago. I do think there are still very fascinating ideas along the AirPods as an AR device line of thinking. For example, you can be in a room and you'll be able. So let's. I'm going to go there. I was going to go there a little bit later, but I think this is a great point. Let's do. I've used this example in the past when I was talking about Apple Vision Pro. Let's say you have a dining room, and this is where you always sing happy birthday to whoever's birthday it is. I envision a scenario where if you had Apple Vision Pro, if you had some type of device where you're able to capture the room, capture the surroundings, and yes, there is a possibility where you can also have a pair of AirPods in the future that would be able to capture some of your surroundings through a type of a camera, like an infrared camera. And then you'll be able to play back the audio or the sound profile of that room as happy birthday was being sung. And I think you can even go so far as to say, if you are wearing a pair of AirPods and you have a Vision Pro headset on, doesn't necessarily need to be Apple Vision Pro. It could be a future Apple Vision headset. You'll be able to relive that memory. So you'll be able to go around that room, see where all your relatives and friends are located around the table, and your audio experience will change depending on where you are and where you're looking. To me, that gives me chills. That's something I want right now. And really, what we're talking about is rethinking memory capture, rethinking memories. We are able to recreate real memories like we have never done before. I think AirPods could play a really key role in that. Another scenario, which may not be as exciting, just simply being able to hear something in one room from a different room. The point here is I think people are underestimating AirPods if they're just treating these as, oh, yeah, this is how you listen to music. This is how you could do phone calls on the train. This is how you can listen to a podcast walking down a street in Manhattan. There's so much more potential here. And I think when you talk about AirPods as an AI device and this idea of, okay, well, glasses, yeah, people may say they're comfortable with it, but are they really comfortable with having those cameras facing people? What if you use AirPods? What if you have an Apple Watch, iPhone, some AirPods? Could that begin to handle some of these quote unquote AI roles in the future? Huh. I think there's definitely there's some validity to that.